Hello, welcome to the African Catalyst podcast. My name is Femi Awofala. And the African Catalyst podcast is an important podcast for us at the African Catalyst because it expresses to you the thought leadership issues in energy and the infrastructure space. One of the major things we do here within the Africa Catalyst podcast is to interview thought leaders to discuss the pains, the challenges, and why Africa's energy gap still exists. I'm your host again, Femi Awofala, and in today's episode, we will be discussing issues related to gas commercialization, and we will lead you into various activities we feel will benefit your knowledge and understanding. Today's topic is the importance of gas commercialization in Africa's infrastructure. And a timely conversation at this point in time in Africa, because we've been dealing with quite a number of issues. Is gas the real transition energy for Africa? Is it renewables? Is it solar? Is it wind? Or what exactly it is? Now, joining us in this edition is Mr. Osaze Isesele, the Executive Director, Africa, and the MENA region of the Gas Investment Forum. Osaze is a seasoned strategic communication expert with deep experience in Africa's energy landscape. And he also serves as a digital marketing manager with various international events, but however, with the organization called the GEP, where he helps to shape content for many events such as the Mozambique Energy and Industry Summit, the Namibia Oil and Gas Conference, and SIPEC. Osaze, it's very great to have you here, and I thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Femi.
Thank you so much,
Thank you for the opportunity.
Now, in today's conversation, we will unpack the vital role of gas commercialization in powering Africa's development, and we'll explore the various issues that have hindered or currently hindering project sponsors in making projects bankable, and how platforms like the Gas Investment Forum are bridging the gap between the opportunity and the investment. You will also hear a little bit more about our forward-thinking initiative within the African Catalyst called the Early Stage Investment Readiness Program, which we have designed to support early-stage project developers developing large-scale infrastructure projects. And now, I will also mention to you also that the GIF and the African Catalyst have come together to provide a more dedicated energy early-stage investment readiness program that will help to shape gas investment in Nigeria. So before I begin, I'd just like to know, generally, we've been talking about gas as a transition fuel for Africa, and especially with a global push for the cleaner energy. So, Osaze, how do you think gas fits into Africa's story over the next decade, especially Nigeria? Because quite a number of climate-related enthusiasts talk about renewable energy sources, sometimes power, sometimes solar or wind, but they fail to mention gas. But why do you think gas is an important fuel in the energy options, especially in Nigeria and Africa at large?
Okay, thank you very much once again, Mr. Femi, for this opportunity. Well, natural gas is it's a no-brainer, right? It's not just a transition fuel; it's a transformational fuel. It's a foundation fuel, because if you're looking at whether you're looking at LPG for clean cooking, whether you're looking for CNG for transportation, whether you're looking for LNG, the studies are there to show that gas is not just bankable, it's scalable, and of course it's visible. It's right there for us to see that the potential is enormous, especially for Nigeria and the African continent. Though I like to think of an integrated energy mix, but it's very important that Africa must utilize all of its resources, for economic growth and of course transformation.
Thank you very much, Osaze. Thank you for that answer. And I agree with you. A number of African countries like Nigeria, Angola, Mozambique, they all have gas, as a natural resource. But A number of them have not been able to develop that gas to commercial value. Some of them have just flared it. And I know that the Nigeria also has an ambition to ensure that we stop gas flare and we make use of that gas. Now, let's move into why it's important in different conferences we've had in Africa. People tend to have oil and gas conferences. People tend to talk about, but sometimes in those oil and gas conferences, you don't hear the gas part of it. You only hear more of the upstream and the oil. Why is it important to have a dedicated, gas forum? I know you probably produce one of them, but what do you think is the significance it brings to the general ecosystem in the oil and gas community?
Okay, the truth of the matter is that we must go beyond just talk, panel sessions to real-time commitments, right? So I think that why that is important is we understand, of course, the word energy, it encompasses all of our energy sources. But why that is important, like for example, the federal government has a dedicated decade of gas agenda.
Correct.
Right? I know they have a program currently in boosting oil production. I know that looking at gas as our transition fuel, the Nigerian government also has something that's called the Nigerian Energy Transition Plan,
Correct.
which of course houses renewables, solar, and all of other sources.
Mm-hmm.
So while we have all of these dedicated plans, for beyond the decade of gas, we've had the Nigeria Gas Master Plan.
Yeah.
So all of these have been policy instruments to see how we can galvanize growth for the industry. So if it makes sense to have policy plans for our resources, I also think it makes sense to have a dedicated sort of event or sort of roadmap, But for me, I think collaboration is important. We must find a way to also collaborate and then to be able to achieve our set goals at the end of the day.
All right, thank you very much. And one of the things which I've also noticed is the fact that at the African Catalyst, one of the things we do is to make sure that people have the right capacity, people are empowered, and they have the knowledge to be able to take an infrastructure project from initial ideation stage into the stage where that project is bankable and that project can be financed. But we've also seen a number of project developers talk about the idea that they want to develop a gas project, maybe a downstream gas project that has to do with using gas for LPG, or a gas project that has to do with using gas as a source of clean, a gas to liquid, or even gas for power. We've been at the African Catalyst, have tried to look at where the pain points are, and we have designed a program which we call the Early Stage Investment Readiness Program to target early stage developers who are working within the gas space to understand what it takes to put a deal together. What does it take to make the project bankable? What does the project need from a predictable cash flow perspective? What does the project need from a fixed construction delivery? And finally, what we call governance and sustainability. And we've looked at various times where project developers have tried their best to get the project to the next level, but for some reasons, they struggle, and at the end of the day, that project becomes a failure. It does not even achieve commercial close, talk less of financial close. And that's why at the African Catalyst, we've looked at the fact that what can we do to make it easy for people who attend events such as the Gas Investment Forum or any gas conference to be able to have a breather, so that it's not just all about panel sessions and talk, but having a way to express their ideas in a concise manner and in a manner that gives the investors or the early stage investors some understanding. So I would just like to ask you, Osaze, I know you are the producer and the executive director of the Gas Investment Forum. What exactly has it been like? When did the forum start? What have been the history of the forum? And now that you're in your third edition, how has it been?
It's been a very wonderful ride. But then let me take you back with the story. So, when the Gas Investment Forum started, Nigeria's Decade of Gas agenda had done 3 years in already, and we had 7 years to go. And like we said earlier on, we were thinking of how do we have a dedicated platform. Our two pillars were investment and infrastructure development, as far as natural gas is concerned. So we don't try to dabble into any other, so long as it is gas, investment, infrastructure development, across the entire value chain. And we don't want to do this in silos because we want to encourage a collaborative effort. So how do we get strategic partners? So we had to think of getting all of the strategic partners that are very interested in gas. So when we came in at that time, when the Decade of Gas agenda was already 7 years left, we thought of starting a platform where it will be collaborative. We have independent financiers, regulators, project developers, everyone in one room. And it may interest you to know that Gas Investment Forum is beyond an event. We're not just another energy conference or energy investment platform. That speaks also to the kind of partnership that we're looking out for. Because like I said earlier on, gas has the potential to do a lot. In fact, the enormous potential of gas can be very exciting.
Yeah.
But then we need to go beyond the excitement,
exactly,
cutting of red tapes, to making real commitments, to sourcing for capital, to looking for investment capital. And we talked about, a lot of gas projects that are in the pipeline. Pipeline readiness is part of it.
Yeah.
So we also sort of that, think of that kind of partnership. So we are beyond just another energy event, but we're also looking at policy, we're also looking at advocacy, in Nigeria, and of course with the introduction of the Big Five country spotlight, on our third edition this year, we're also trying to see how we can carry along other African nations. Zimbabwe is there, Ghana is there, Egypt is there. A lot of these African nations that have gas resources and they have good regulatory frameworks, they have good investment landscape. All we need to do is do the promotion and accelerate the work and get things moving.
Great to know. And it's been a wonderful experience. And I remember those days in early stages when Nigeria was when oil prices were really high. Any energy investment or any energy forum, you see all the top IOCs and things. But nowadays we've noticed that IOCs have removed out of Nigeria, and we've been seeing indigenous gas companies, right? And this is just getting your own view. I mean, I feel like we've seen Shell move out of the onshore locations, and we have Renaissance. Seplat is taking over Mobile. Owando is taking over Ajib. What's your how do you see this continuing in the next 5-10 years?
So I think it's a problem of making people understand. I don't buy the school of thought that these IOCs are leaving. For me, this is the evidence of local content. We've been pushing local content for a very long time, talking about indigenous capacity. And that's why for us at the Gas Investment Forum, we created a dedicated track known as Nigerian Content for Gas.
Correct.
We know that there's local content initiatives for oil. The NCDMB, who is graciously our good sponsor in the 2024 edition. We're also looking forward to onboarding them this year as well. They are also doing great as far as policy and local content development and monitoring is concerned across the value chain. Manufacturing of valves, manufacturing of LPG kits and stuff like that. So for me, I don't see it as a disadvantage. I see it as an advantage for our local players to be able to have the space to play.
All right.
Right.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. So basically, I understand and I agree. But the challenge now is that from a financing perspective, right, these indigenous players, homegrown, definitely have spent some time in the country. They may not necessarily have the international parent company like a Shell having headquarters in Netherlands or ExxonMobil in the US and the likes. How do you think investment can now gravitate towards local players in Nigeria, right? As much as it may be it may be difficult, but I feel like what can one do, right, to make indigenous players, for us to increase that number, to have more participants in gas-related investments?
Okay, so I think that it's a good question, and that is where the Gas Investment Forum comes in.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, so we beyond we are thinking acceleration, we're
Great.
thinking promotion.
Correct.
These are the indigenous players, these are the developers who are currently working on certain and several projects, right?
Correct.
And we want to be able to see how we create a platform where these projects, these ideas, you know, have that sort of global relevance and global prominence. So like when we had our 2024 edition, it was headlined by the Gas Exporting Countries Forum, GECF. This year, thankfully, we're having the International Gas Union be a part of it. So we're also trying to see how we can unlock strategic global partnerships as well as regional collaborative efforts to see that we promote these companies, we accelerate these companies, and talk about the projects and the ideas and what they are working on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Osaze, for that knowledge about indigenous players and what Gas Investment Forum is doing. One of the things for us at the African Catalyst is we have three main pillars. One is the fact that we are dealing directly with early stage project developers. And within the African Catalyst, we have a program called Developing and Financing Infrastructure Projects. And this program basically has the ability for you, being a career developer, being somebody from early stage, or even you've never even developed a project before. You can attend the DFIP, which is the Developing and Financing Infrastructure Project, to give you that understanding you need from a project finance perspective, and for you to be able to make use of the knowledge you've learned in application towards what you call project financing and having the level of commercial awareness. And that brings me to a collaboration between the Gas Investment Forum and the African Catalyst. So what we've designed now is that during the Gas Investment Forum, which is going to happen in October this year, October 7 and 8, the African Catalyst and the Gas Investment Forum, we are partnering together to incubate and provide the project preparation that is required to develop any kind of gas commercialization project, be it a gas to power project or a power project that is using gas, be it a gas to liquid project, or even a gas project that has to do with, gas for transportation or cooking gas and the likes. So far it's large scale and is worth hearing about. We'll go through an 8-week period of learning with you, where we will take you through the rudiments of early stage development, what happens at the early stage, what happens at the pre-financing stage, what happens at the financing stage, and also the post-financing stage. And these will culminate in you developing what you call your early stage investment pitch deck, which you will go and pitch during the Gas Investment Forum, where investors, venture capitalists, energy players are. It's an opportunity we feel that will help to strengthen the early stage investment community, such that you will have understood what your project is, what your project wants to do, and all you have to do is to go on that stage and get the right level of viewership and also distribution, and also having the level of visibility your project needs. One of the things we've noticed in the early stage requirements of projects is the fact that most early stage project owners who are doing projects are not taken seriously, because nobody really wants to invest at a startup. But it's easy for them to invest in the tech, in a technology or a fintech. But when it comes to energy, gas, oil and gas, once you're a startup, people feel that you must climb. And that's why we have said, no, you have to give these guys a chance. Even if you're an early stage developer of a gas project, you can come to the Gas Investment Forum, come to this training program, and be able to accelerate your project to a level whereby you can actually be able to say, oh, 5 years down the line, I was able to run this project through my activity in the Gas Investment Forum. So what do you think this plan of platform or partnership can actually bring?
Okay, the partnership between Gas Investment Forum and the African Catalyst is quite a very exciting partnership. I see it as a game changer. You know, when you were talking, we talk about FIDs, we talk about $1 million investments and, you know, multi-billion-dollar projects, right? But who talks about the early stage developers?
Exactly.
You know, so that is why we sort of thought about it and said, okay, yes, we have all of the big projects and all of those, you know, massive projects. But what about the early stage developers? And then we also thought about something as well, pipeline readiness, right? A lot of them have this project. A lot of them have these ideas. Now, over the week, someone called me and was talking about looking for equity partners for an LNG project, right? And then I've had someone also call me to say, oh, they want to do a modular processing plant in Edo State, you know, which will process CNG for transportation and then process LPG for clean cooking. You know, those are projects, viable projects with great prospect, right? But they need that early stage, you know, infrastructure investment readiness. And that takes us to the fact that when these companies go through the ESIRO program, we now give them a platform, like you said, the gas commercialization pitching session. That is going to happen at the Gas Finance and Investors Pavilion. So that's a dedicated track that at the Gas Investment Forum that is going to be looking at the entire value chain, not just the big projects. What about those small projects that have the capacity to transform our industries, transfer our economic clusters, and the rest of that? So it's something that we are looking at the long-term benefit. We're looking at the future. We're not looking at the now. We're looking at the future. And so whatever it takes, Gas Investment Forum, we are not leaving any stone unturned. Whatever it takes to move the needle, you know, from wherever it is to where we need to be, as far as gas investment is concerned and infrastructure development is concerned, we're really, really very much part of it.
Thank you so much. Now, just to give you a little bit of insights in the Early Stage Investment Readiness Program. So the Early Stage Investment Readiness Program for gas commercialization takes us through, you coming through various set of materials and workshops where we will take you on how do you define your gas projects? What is the size? What is the location? And does it have the locational advantage in itself? Every gas commercialization project has some form of logistics requirement or the other. It's either you are piping the gas down or you are trucking it, or you are even using some kind of barges and code to get the gas out of your system. So we go through a program where we explain to you for the first 2 weeks what you need to know in terms of making your gas project happen from a large-scale perspective and from a project finance perspective. And that brings me back to a lot of people not understanding the fact that gas infrastructure projects require a methodology of funding, which we call the project finance. And project finance, being a limited recourse financing, has some methodology in it. So we'll first of all define your project for you in the first 2 weeks. By the third week, we will introduce you to what we call the achieving bankability. And so many gas companies have come and they've asked us to say, oh, how do I make my projects bankable? What exactly do I need to do? And they go back and say, oh, let's go and do a bankable feasibility study. No, bankability is not in your feasibility study. Your project is only bankable by the actions you take to de-risk the project after you have identified them within your feasibility study. Hence, we will take you through another 3 to 4 weeks of learning on achieving fixed construction delivery, achieving a predictable cash flow, and achieving governance and sustainability. And I'll speak more on a few things about achieving predictable cash flow, because that is really one of the major elements of any gas commercialization projects. One is the fact that that gas is coming from the subsurface, and either somebody is supplying the gas or you are cleaning the gas by yourself. Now, even if you are cleaning the gas by yourself, you need to understand that one is your supply guarantee is very critical. So we will work with you to understand how does this gas that is they are going to make use of in commercializing, do you have security over the supply? The second part of it is that who is buying the gas after you've done it? So we deal with what we call predictable cash flow on two fronts. One is you can decide to have an offtake agreement with a third party who probably will buy your LNG through purchase contracts, or a third party who probably buy your LPG, or you are putting the gas in a pipeline for CNG and the like. So the revenue model needs to be clear. Now, you could go that way in terms of an offtake strategy. You also could go in a strategy we call a market model, whereby you believe there's a market for this from an export perspective or from a perspective of indigenous or local consumption, right? For example, an LPG today, whether you have an offtake agreement or not, people are using cooking gas, every now and then. So we will take you through that process of understanding how to make your project predictable, how to make the cash flow predictable. Once we've done with that, we now look at the issues that have to do with the fixed construction delivery and as well as operations, optimal operations. Now, a number of people may have decided that developing and delivering gas infrastructure projects will require an EPC contractor, but in getting to that point where you are appointing an EPC contractor, you probably still need to understand the design processes, the front-end engineering processes, and all the things you need to do to make sure that your project can actually achieve its objectives. So we take you through another 2 or 3 weeks discussing with you on the fixed construction delivery and operations. And we also tell you about having an O&M contract, maybe with a third party if you decide to. And the final leg we discuss is on governance and sustainability. And I'm sure you also know about governance in Nigeria's scheme of things, like having the right governance framework. Sometimes you might have a good idea, but the wrong board of directors or the wrong shareholders. So, I mean, just generally, you may decide today to say, okay, let's go about this project. But what we also train them on is the fact that as much as it's important to deal on your project, but governance is an important part, then sustainability. Because as there is no way you will go into a gas commercialization project that you will not displace people, right? So your environmental impacts and also your climate. So as much as even your gas infrastructure project may be having a kind of emissions, right? No matter how small or much, but what the investors at the early stage are looking for is that what actions are you taking to reduce emissions? So this is the kind of capacity building.
So just to add to what you've said about this partnership, you've just taken us through the technical and the commercial aspects, of course. And then for me, this isn't just about theory. This is for me, this is much about acceleration. This is unlocking grassroots gas commercialization. This is about a new breed of entrepreneurs in the system. And for us, that is why this partnership is also very, very pivotal. And it's of course a new wave of bankable projects. So let's have those projects in the room, those projects ideas. Like I told you, a number of people have reached out to me and I said, oh, have you seen our partnership with the African Catalyst on the ESIR? I think that is something that you should be a part of so we can get this moving. Not just big talk, but big talk followed through.
Correct. Thank you so much. And I think one of the other things we have also partnered on is what we call the structured networking. Which is a unique way of actually networking within an event. And sometimes you find people tend to feel like left out. They probably are in an event and they definitely don't have anybody to talk to. But what we have designed is a way whereby during the Gas Investment Forum, there's going to be a very intensive structured networking session, maybe on the first day or the second day, or even both days, whereby if you attend the event, you are sure that you at least talk to 20, 30 people on a one-on-one basis, irrespective of who they are. And even if you are shy, maybe an introvert, it just helps you to level out, your level of expectation and impact. Okay, so a lot of people talk about networking in an event, right? And I noticed that, the Gas Investments Forum is bringing in a special networking called the structured networking in this edition with partnership with the African Catalyst. So what should people look out for in terms of networking, attending an event like this? What do you think? What are your views?
Okay, Gas Investment Forum, the 2025 edition, will be one of our most audacious and ambitious edition yet. And that is because of the kind of structure that we've given to the forum. So this year, we are going to be having 2 stages, the Decade of Gas Strategic Conference stage, that will focus across the value chain. It will focus on investment policies and all of that. And then we have the technical stage, which is the GRM-ish technical masterclass stage. That's going to be focusing on gas, renewables, mining, and hydrogen. Now, that is going to look more into technical aspects and commercial aspects of this value chain and how gas acts as a nexus across renewable, mining, and of course hydrogen. And then because of these stages that we're going to be having, we're expecting, more attendance this year. And of course, because of that, we need to bring in the structured networking, so as to ensure that, because our goal always goes from the norm to looking at real-time commitments. So we want someone to spend 48 hours, at our event, being able to be armed not just with knowledge transfer, but with the prerequisite network that you need to drive
your business,
whatever value chain that you are in. So whether you are whether you're a law firm, whether you're a regulator, whether you are you're looking to connect with financiers, you're looking to connect with business developers, whatever people you're trying to connect with across the value chain, looking forward to connect to regulators, it's going to be a one-stop shop. And that is the reason why we were able to come up with that strategic partnership. We're in partnership with the Nigerian Gas Association, with the Petroleum Technology Association of Nigeria, PTAN. We're also with Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists. They are going to be driving the dedicated track on upstream gas and exploration hotspot. We also have Gender Lens Investment, powered by the Women in Energy Network. We also have the Women in Energy, Oil and Gas group as part of this event as well. So it's the entire value chain. We say, can we have one platform where we have the entire stakeholders on the table discussing the entire value chain and saying how we do business, around gas. So the structured networking is going to be powered by the African Catalyst, and I also look forward to it. I know it's going to be exciting and it's going to be engaging. So I look forward to it. And if you're not registered yet for the Gas Investment Forum, this is a good time to visit our website and just do that.
All right, great. So also, just to also give a bit of context also, is the fact that after the preparation during the Early Stage Investment Readiness program for gas commercialization, there's a gas commercialization pitching session. Right. So you definitely will notice that in the tech space, it's easy for you to pitch a tech project or a tech idea because you can demonstrate what you call a minimum viable product. That, I've done this thing before. I have 50 subscribers. I have 200 subscribers. Come out, invest in me. And that's why in technology space, you have quite an amount of investors providing seed capital, $500,000, $1 million, and they raise Series A, Series B. But when it comes to energy and infrastructure, right, there is no minimum viable product.
So we should be able to replicate that.
Exactly. And the fact is that people invest in your gas commercialization project based on your idea, the contracts you have shown them, and your commercial acumen, that you understand what you're doing, that you understand what you're about to do. That is why people invest in you. So why it's important to come and pitch your idea within the gas commercialization pitch session is the fact that it allows you to be able to articulate properly what you want to achieve. And we are going to work hard to ensure that you have venture capitalists, people from the banks, the lenders will be there. We're also going to have private equity participants sit there to even hear about you.
Including commercial banks as well.
Even commercial, exactly. And even major international
DFIs
banks and DFIs and things. So the key thing about it is that it's easy to pitch a tech idea, a fintech idea. It's easy to pitch it because you can tell people what you are doing and you can show them
live demos and all. Yeah.
But if you are building a CNG commercialization power plant or a CNG mother station, right? Or you are building a gas liquefaction plant, right? Or a fertilizer plant, there is no way to demonstrate it than you to talk. So you just have to talk the right things investors want to hear. So it is critical, and also you have to also talk in the right environment. Sometimes you are doing this kind of gas projects or oil and gas projects or even infrastructure projects, you are going to other international conferences, right? They may not have a time for you because they are dealing with, multinational, multi-billion-dollar projects. But what we've done basically with the Gas Investment Forum is to say, let's have these guys that are starting. Let's give them a chance. Let's even hear them out. So having the ability to be able to go through the Early Stage Investment Readiness Program for the gas commercialization projects gives you the right environment to know how to pitch an early stage infrastructure project. It's a very, very, very niche resource and very, very scarce resource to be able to pitch an infrastructure project in the way people want to know. And I'll tell you one important thing. A number of early stage investors we speak to tend to feel like, oh, these guys who are entrepreneurs, they forget that what an early stage investor needs to hear is how you are de-risking the project. Not necessarily that the risk is there is not new to them. But if you ask, okay, what is your guarantee for gas supply? What they want to hear is that, oh, I have a gas supply agreement with this IOC, it has liquidated damages or it has some level of guarantees, and that's it. So the things that really makes project finance or infrastructure financing work at the early stage is the ability for you as an infrapreneur to talk about the things that will make the project work, even though you see the risk at hand. And that's why people like, and that's why we keep circling the same kind of investors, the same kind of developer like a Dangote. He keeps going to do the same thing because he understands this language.
Yeah.
Right? So a number of people may feel that, oh, I don't need to understand, I don't need to go for the investment readiness program, I already have my pitch deck, I already have my business plan. It's beyond that. It's beyond you being able to de-risk the project properly and be able to really get yourself into what you need to understand. So it's critical that we find people who are even developing even power projects that uses gas. Even people developing fertilizer projects can come to the Gas Investment Forum for the investment readiness program in itself. So let's also talk about the fact that what is government doing? Because this work we are doing is like Moses rescuing the Israelites, right? Taking them to the promised land. Because it is not in your purview to bring investments to Nigeria, but you are doing it from a philanthropic perspective. Why?
Okay, for us, we are looking at accelerating and promoting investment. So, like I said earlier on, we have enjoyed the support and endorsement of the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources.
Very good.
In the last 2 years and also in this third edition. And for us, it is critical because, like I said earlier on, the natural gas space in Nigeria, I think we need to collaborate more than we compete. So for us, and that is the idea across how we onboard our strategic partners.
Yeah.
If you look at all our strategic partners, they are organizations who are actively involved in one area of the value chain as far as gas is concerned. Coming from the new president to say gas is the transition fuel, gas is the way to go. Yeah. And once the president believes in gas, trust me, all other state actors as well as players in the industry would want to look forward to that direction. So, like I said earlier on, I'm not a face of the Nigerian presidency, yeah. but we are in partnership with the government.
Correct.
And that shows that we need to be able to speak on areas where it is being done correctly. So I was saying that the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration has done quite a lot in the last few years. It has done quite a lot. You can see with the presidential CNG initiative.
Exactly.
There's been a lot of. There's this very recent 5 mini LNG projects that was flagged off in partnership with NNPC.
Correct.
I think it involves Boa Group. and a number of partners,
Yeah.
in that Ajaokuta area. And that is what we at Gas Investment Forum, we are interested in. Bringing these players to the table across the value chain, right? To see how we can catalyze, galvanize investments for the sector, support what government is doing. So the Gas Investment Forum, aside the fact that we want to be able to encourage regional cooperation, across West Africa, we are very much anchored on the Decade of Gas agenda. Correct. And of course, on Nigeria's broader vision to position as a global gas powerhouse in Africa. So I would say that government has done a lot, but then, like I said earlier on, we need to collaborate more than we compete, right? And also, very importantly, all of these reforms, I saw yesterday that the president also has assented to a couple of tax bills, which, the Energy Reforms Office of the President, that's the special assistant to the president, reported that that reform has also been able to attract $6 billion extra of investments. That is something credible. Those are the kind of activities we want to amplify at the Gas Investment Forum. At the same time, carry along early stage developers. So this is where I'm going to. We're looking at an end-to-end kind of journey, where all of these reforms, all of these events, all of these activities translate to the poorest of the poorest having access to clean energy, having access to LPG for cooking, having access to CNG for transportation. Think about it, where states are, like for example, the State Electricity Act, think about it from the sub-national economies, what we're trying to do with the Edo State government, to see that states buy into the gas-driven industrialization vision and begin to trickle it down to as much communities and underserved regions across the country, across the continent.
Excellent. And I also think that one of the ways which that can also be done is through these regional commissions that government had just set up. We have the Niger Delta Development Commission, we have the Southwest, we have the Middle Belt, we have the Northern Development Commissions, and it's a low-hanging fruit for them to be able to key into how they can industrialize these regions through gas. And I can tell you for a fact that as much as we all claim to deny it, right, gas still remains the number one energy transition in Nigeria and in Africa at large. Because it can give us the kind of power we need to industrialize. Yes, we can do a little bit with the solar panels and the CNI and the wind farm, but when you power a power turbine, right, with the right level of gas, and you get the kind of output, you are always assured of what it brings. Now, going also on to that, one of the other things we looked at is the fact that in the early stage investment readiness program, we have the foundation stage, which is what they go on to. But there's also a second and third stage, which is after they graduate or they leave the Gas Investment Forum, they can still decide to take their projects to another level where they have more mentoring, where they have a one-on-one de-risking, and we'll start going to things like deeper things like, financial modeling at a really, really deeper level in itself. So importantly for us, one of the issues we feel is important is the fact that Nigeria's gap in infrastructure will be developed by Nigerians. Africa's gap in infrastructure will be developed by Africa. As much as we like it or not, it's easy for anybody to come and invest, but when it comes to boots on the ground, people tend to shiver away. But when you are committed that you have no other place to go, then Nigeria in itself.
And that's why GIF are not doubling down. We're doing our best. Third year, 3 years is been running, and at this third year, we want to go beyond the idea of just an event. To becoming part of what is going on integrally, like what is going on in terms of, like I said earlier on, subnational economies. Just driving it down to the very last needle, as it were.
Sense. So it's been a good time talking to you, Mr. Osaze. I really have a wonderful time. And thank you to everybody. I have been able to speak with Mr. Osaze Isesele about various things in gas commercialization, what is happening within the Gas Investment Forum coming up this year, as well as the Early Stage Investment Readiness Program. So More importantly, you can visit the Gas Investment Forum website to register for the Early Stage Investment Readiness program. And also, you can also visit the African Catalyst website to register. If you are in doubt about anything, just check the email at the bottom of this where you are viewing from. You'll see a phone number and email for the Gas Investment Forum. You can always contact the number there to basically get you going. But please make sure you register and make sure you attend the next edition on the 7th and 8th of October. Thank you. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much for the opportunity. So wherever you're listening from, wherever you're watching from, it's like I said earlier on, it's a collaborative effort. Everybody has to be part of driving Nigeria's global gas powerhouse vision. So please, if you have a project, you have an idea, I enjoin you to register. So like I said earlier on, even if you already have a business plan, the ESIRO project or program, it's a platform for you to test that business plan you have, test that idea before you come, and pitch before a community of investors willing and ready to invest in your project. But you have to do your own part. So together, I believe that we will work together to see that Nigeria achieves its global positioning as Africa's global gas powerhouse. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I will enjoin you to listen to this podcast in our YouTube channel. You follow us, you like us, or you also reshare. And please leave a comment in itself. I would like to see you in the next edition. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.